to another video. Welcome to another stream. Let me do that again. Welcome to another video. Welcome to another stream. Today we're going to talk about which brand new Tesla is actually the best deal. We'll take a look at all the vehicles because I've already done the math. I did the math and I calculated the retail price minus the tax credit of $7,500. So we'll take a look at which one seems to be the best deal from that perspective, because those Tesla discounts did have some big impact, and a good portion of people will qualify for that $7,500 tax credit. So if you're new here, my name is Dennis. I love talking about Tesla hacking, as I like to call it, but basically just getting the best deal on a Tesla at the best possible price or just really good financing. So if you're interested in any of that, please hit that subscribe. And today's video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link down below in the description, but more on that later. So if you don't know, just to quickly recap, Tesla prices were discounted massively. So shout out to Christopher Dungeon for putting this price grid together on Twitter. You can see here, it was anywhere from $3,000 discount on the Model 3 standard range all the way up to $21,000 on a Model S Plaid. Absolutely insane. But the one thing that wasn't really, I haven't seen it yet, but no one's really highlighted is what is the price after the $7,500 tax credit. I know there's a lot of confusion still on like how you qualify for the tax credit. What are these stipulations and all that stuff. There's a page from the IRS that shows you which vehicles actually qualify, but the TLDR is any Model 3 or Model Y 5-seat that's under $55K. If it's a Model Y 7-seat, it can be any price whatsoever. And to further clarify that, when it says under $55,000, it has to be just the options. So color, interior color, rims, and all that stuff. It has to be under $55,000. So that's it. And then to qualify for that tax rate, you have to make less than $150,000 if you're a single person and under $300,000 if you are married. And pretty much anybody that's a W-2 employee pays federal tax. So it's not about like, do you get a refund at tax season or not? It's if you basically make above like $70,000 as a W-2 income earner, you pay about $7,500 in federal tax throughout the year on every single paycheck. So you get that back when you file for your tax credit in 2024. And if, this is where, shout out to Tenet for sponsoring this video, I guess, as well. But Tenet has a interesting way of financing that's different from anybody else, but they allow you to defer a portion of your loan all the way to the end, maybe, up to 25% or even that $7,500 tax credit, which would then net you a lower monthly payment throughout the term. So there is a strategy here. If you're looking for the lowest possible monthly payment, this is where Tenet actually could make sense. Or if you're looking to refinance your vehicle for whatever reason, Tenet can actually make sense. So check out the link below in the description. And thank you for Tenet to sponsoring actually a couple of these videos this month. So thank you to them. But let's jump into the topic. I actually made a tweet, and this is where I broke down all the different prices. So a quote from myself: Teslas that qualify for the tax credit with their adjusted price after that $7,500 tax credit. So you can see right here, Model 3 standard range, $36,490. Model 3 long range, $42,490, and Model 3 Performance, $46,490. And under $50K Model 3 Performance, that's crazy. A Model Y, if we're moving to the Model Y standard range, spoiler alert, there is a Model Y standard range. It's not really highlighted anywhere, just like how the long range is not highlighted anywhere. And that's also could be another topic on why, for some reason, they still haven't brought those two vehicles back, the SR and the long range. And we could probably speculate on that. But the Model Y standard range does exist. You can find them in inventory. Shout out to waitingfortesla.com. And so that vehicle after the $7,500 tax credit is $43,490. And then the Model Y long range after the $7,500 tax credit is $45,490. So my question was like, which one do you think is the best deal on this list? And then of course, this is only valid through March of 2023. So lock down your VINs. I made a video about that PSA yesterday. Do not place a Tesla order on the website. Try and find an inventory vehicle so that you can lock down a car, because the worst thing that could happen is that your delivery date could get pushed past March or even in March, and then the whole thing changes once again with Tesla prices. So here's the question, like which vehicle do you think is the best deal here? I mean, take a look at it. If you're looking like to get the cheapest, most inexpensive, cheap Tesla, of course the Model 3 standard range at basically $36,000 before, taxes, fees, and all that stuff. That's like a slamming deal at that point. And the thing is, like, of course, I know the tax credit you don't get until 2024, but that's where using a financing partner like Tenet could make sense. Like that's where, you defer that $7,500 all the way to the end. And then once you get that tax credit back in 2024, you pay off Tenet and then be on your way, or maybe even refinance after. I probably shouldn't say that because banks want you to keep the loan as long as possible, but there's a strategy there. Just get Tenet, push off that 7,500, get the 7,500, pay it off, and then refinance. But anyways, maybe you won't like that strategy, but I thought of that the other day. I was like, that makes a lot of sense actually. If you're going for the lowest possible monthly payment at the end of the day. So taking a look at these prices, like, if you're going for like bang for, performance, gung ho all the way out, yeah, of course the Model 3 performance at 46,000, that's the lowest price it's ever been, which is absolutely insane. But Model Y standard range, like 43.4, if you take a look at it like this way, like Model 3 long range, like if you're trying to like figure out like dollar for dollar, I want to spend 45,000 or maybe 43,000, the difference between a Model 3 long range and a Model Y standard range is what? $1,000? That's absolutely insane. Like I would argue and say that a Model Y for $1,000 more because of the space, the SUV feel and all that stuff, the comfortability, maybe even for $1,000 more, that's a pretty slick deal in my opinion. And then essentially you go third row if you really need that space. But Model Y long range at $45,490, $3,000 more. That's arguably worth it for sure as well, because 3,000 is what, like 8% more to get, I would say arguably from a Model 3 to a Model Y. That's like a 20 to 25% more car, like intrinsic value, I guess, for sure. And you're paying 9% more in like the cost. So I think it's worth it. And especially when you boil it down to like monthly payments, that's maybe like, I don't know, $40 a month, $50 a month. I'm just kind of just throwing numbers out there at that point, but definitely, some pretty interesting stuff. So let me know what you guys think is the best deal on a brand new Model 3 or Model Y. And of course, I put a poll out there on the channel in the community tab. I like to put polls every single day to see kind of what's the temperature out there. And so I asked the question, which Tesla is the best deal right now? All vehicles below, I should write, qualify for the $7,500 tax credit. And an overwhelming majority actually said Model Y long range at 52,990. But you know what I should have done? I should have done another poll, and I should have said adjusted for the tax rate, because if you look at it this way, it kind of makes sense, 52,990. But then if you look at it, kind of this way, it does kind of seem like the Model Y standard range is the best value, but maybe that's just me. Let me know if you agree on this, but and if you think about it, Model Y standard range, the range isn't necessarily highlighted in too many spots, but we can find them if we go to waitingfortesla.com. Shout out to them. They build, he builds a really great site that you can take a look at aggregated inventory across the country. And so right here's the cheapest one in the country. It's a Model Y all-wheel drive for $51,990. And you can see the range right there is 279 miles. But if you jump to long range, Yes, I agree. Long range has more miles. You can see right here, it's 330. But the difference between a standard range and a long range is that standard ranges, you can charge all the way up to 100% on daily use. And they, Tesla says because it's a different battery chemistry and all that stuff, it doesn't affect the battery. So 279 at 100% versus a long range where you're supposed to only charge 80 to 90% on the daily use. So let's say, 90%, let's say 85% of 330 mile range, that's 280. So essentially they're kind of the same range if you were to compare it in that aspect. Now I get it. Charging all the way up to 100% can take, that much more time, because, going from, as the battery fills up, it gets slower for whatever reason, or maybe the charge rates get slower. but you're getting essentially the same range because if you charge the 90% or even 85%, it's basically the same as the standard range. So that's kind of my viewpoint on it. Let me know if you agree on that. But when we look at it this way, it does really seem like the Model Y standard range is the best deal. But then at the same time, like what's 2000? I mean, not what's 2000, but for 2000 of 43,000 or essentially 5% more, you get what, 20% more range, just doing quick maths on the top of my head. But let me know what your guys' thoughts on that. So we're jumping in some of the comments, some of the questions, but before we get into that, this video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link. Down below in the description, there's a Patreon link where you can support the channel. There's a variety of different benefits, but including you can actually schedule a call with me where you can ask me any questions about buying a Tesla, selling a Tesla, or even financing a Tesla. And after you join the call, you get a link to after you join the Patreon, you get a link to my buying guide, which has links to all the resources that I use to get the best possible deal at the best possible price. And also on the guide, there's a financing credit union that has rates as low as 3%, which is absolutely insane at this point. And another benefit is I actually respond to all DMs that I get in my Patreon app. So if you have any questions, any concerns, or if you want to, any question answered about buying a Tesla, you will get an answer from me. But you don't even have to do that. Just being here, liking the video, watching and subscribe goes a long way. So thank you for that. All right, let's jump into some of the comments and the questions. So this is the one I just saw, but Terrence